morning. It's Warrior Junior here for another educational episode of Logic Sense, of making sense of the nonsense, teaching you by teaching myself, learning to challenge what you've been told, how you think, and how to challenge the narrative. I think the best way I can describe this, what as to how society and the programming of the matrix is working as hard as they can to destroy you, to literally kill you from the inside out. So, how do they do that? One way is what you're consuming, what you're eating, and what you're doing to yourself. What do you mean? I eat healthy. Or do you? We're going to get to that in a second. May God help you if you're putting toxins in your body, if you're ingesting toxins. Vaping. It's not as bad as smoke. It's all garbage, dude. Garbage is garbage. Period. Marijuana makes you cough for a reason. It's poison induced garbage. Yeah, but it doesn't matter what it is. It's garbage. All of it. It'll wear you out. Everything. Drinking anything. I heard a glass of wine. Not necessary. Not necessary. So this past week, I've been doubling down on my cardio, as I mentioned. To be able to lean out, the further, the more advanced you go, it takes a lot of work. This guy, we'll just call him Lambo dude, that I know. He's done quite a few B movies over the past 25 years. He's a good friend of mine. And he's always impressed by the amount of cardio I do, but I tell him it ain't shit what I do. Because I know that I'm capable of so much more. We put these things in our mind, these limitations, limited beliefs. He loves to compare things, but you're better than me. I'm not. And I told him, comparison is the thief of joy. Great saying, great line. Great line. Yeah, I'm compared on stage when I do bodybuilding shows and everything. But in my mind, I'm thinking about what I looked like at the last show and what I look like at when I do a current show. I'm looking sharper. For me, it's all about being leaned out. So the real suffering is the cardio. Hard to get that in a gym because I think I talked about this in the last episode when I'm running the steps in the park. That's where the real suffering, where I really get the value, as I call it, value extraction. Snot flying everywhere, sweat coming off your forehead, your whole body's drenched, hard to breathe, sore, and tired. You add it all up to what keeps you fucking going. What keeps you going is your mind and knowing that when you're in the trenches, proverbially doing that kind of shit, that's where the real value is extracted. So Lambo dude was on the bike next to me. It's an hour or so till the gym closed. My gym closes at 11 during the week most of the times. And it's like I usually am sweating everywhere. I kind of had to water it down when I talked to him, and it's okay because I tell him this. I said, I don't like anybody in that gym except you. I will talk to you and you only because I respect certain people, and that's it. So I did about, ideally, I'd like to do a marathon on a stationary bike every workout, 26.2. I did under a half this time, 12.75, close to a half. But, he's like, wow, you're on a bike for over an hour. It ain't shit. It ain't shit. To lean out at my level requires like a maniacal obsession. And I don't like to starve myself. I'm eating as clean as hell. Irregardless, it's still, the clean fuel. But what happens is, your body, after a certain point, it's going to level off. And even to maintain it is a not a struggle, but it's consistency. It's that means you're holding like a baseline, and you're lowering. For me, my baseline is 140 pounds. And I mean, I got a friend, it's like 185. When I tell you, he goes 140. He's like, it's okay. It's not great for stage. It's for me. I'm my own. We're all our own harshest critics. I'm myself included. But you know, there's a couple ways to approach natural bodybuilding when you're on stage. I'm in a classic physique category, and the weight is arbitrary. I've seen guys that are about my height. They come at about 175. There's this one Mexican guy. I call him the Mike Menser. He wasn't shredded to the bone, but he had this Mike Menser type. Wow, he real nice. Like, just, I don't know if he was on something or whatever. A lot of these guys won't talk about it, but he was very solid at 175. And I will never forget. We're in the hotel the day, was it the morning before the show, and he had like a baggy shirt on, and I said, "Look at this guy. There's nothing there. Like, he, he got his tan. In the hotel, we get the spray tans, and he took his shirt off, and I go, fuck. I go, oh my god. I still, I think I had like 3 or 4 shows under my belt at that time, but you cannot, clothes. Listen, I seen Jeff Seed or whatever in the hotel. We are registering, and he wears sometimes these shirts that have very very big, kind of like a necklines, and you know, you're like, what was this guy? What's there? Dude, it's like the Hulk when they pump up or whatever, or take it off, or you can see something. It's like game over, game fucking over. The clothing, it tells no story whatsoever. You have no fucking idea when they take off this shit. It's like, and I know it too because during the day, the sun's out, and like I take off this shirt and I'm walking around, and people are like, oh fuck, because it's like shredded. Like you're showing now, you're showing what you got. They can't see it. The clothes. Now, when I was bigger, I could fill it out more. And there's that's another. It can be shown in form-fitting clothes, but nothing beats when you take it off and you got it. And it's like just fucking solid and shredded. There ain't no ounce of fat there, or you're solid as hell. You're just you come to party. And that was a wake up call for me in competition because I didn't know. I was like, well, I've seen these guys in clothes, they don't look like much. And then then you get on stage and you're like, oh fuck. I know it before I get on stage, but it's like just the story is told when you're backstage and pumping up, and you can just see, you're like, oh, or the spray tanning, like I mentioned. I got 9 shows under my belt so far. I'm pretty well seasoned in this. Um, the Natural Olympia is 4 weeks from today. Will I be in it? Hopefully. I got some financial things I'm hoping that work out, and I will be able to figure this out fairly quickly. It's a big deal. It's a very big deal to me. It's the definitive exposition of natural bodybuilding, the pinnacle they call it. There's amateurs on Friday, November the 7th or 6th, and then the next day is the pros. I'm an amateur, and I will, I do my age bracket. I do not do the open because, at that level and the amount of cheating that goes on, and the cost and all coupled with everything, it's it doesn't work for me. It just doesn't work. So I can only know what I've gone through, how hard I worked. I call it doubling down on cardio. So I did, the bike over an hour, close to 13 miles. And then, Lambo dude, I told him I'm going to go to the park and I'm going to do the steps. He goes, now what? Right now? What? No, I'm going to go home first. I'm going to shower. I'm going to have a little something to eat. I'm going to relax. I might lay down for a little bit, but if I get up 3 in the morning, I'm going to the fucking park. I'm gonna go run the steps, and the steps make the bike look like a little bitch. I mean, the steps are brutal, brutal. They test your fortitude. Um, there's 3 levels of steps, about 17. I would say total of close to 55 steps up and down, and they are a bitch. They are they test every fiber of my being, but I wouldn't have it any other way because those steps is where the calloused mind for me is forged, as David Goggins talks about. When I start doing those steps and the snot starts coming out and the sweat starts pouring and the hard breathing, I think about a couple things. I think about, all right, you got a marathon a day after the Olympia, and it'll be a half marathon because the full is closed due to partial Highway 38 near Big Bear is completely destroyed due to mudslides. I would have done the full marathon. I actually signed up for it, but now we're all delegated to doing the half or not or nothing. So I will do the half, the 13.1, which I did on my 48th birthday with very little training, and I was able to complete it nonstop in about 2 hours and 2.5 hours, a little under there. Yeah, it's all downhill, running down a mountain, and then it levels off into the city of Redlands. It starts like at 6 in the morning, I think. But your bus takes you up there 4 in the morning. If you do the full marathon, you go up there at like 3 in the morning because it's further to the drop off point. But we're talking about the half, and it was very exciting. It's like the first time I actually completed on my 48th birthday, November the 12th, like 4 years ago. I did my first half marathon. And I remember how easy it was to I don't say run. I mean, I like lightly jog because the air so easy to breathe because it's so cold. Cool, 30 degrees at that time. 3, 4, 5 in the morning, and the adrenaline of all the people running too. And it's like it just goes pretty fast. It's real. It's really something. Remember when I crossed the finish line, the announcer goes, and finishing his first half marathon on his 48th birthday. This Warrior Junior. It's very exciting. And I remember standing out there all cold, uncomfortable as shit, callousing my mind in a different way. And then a year later, I did the full marathon. And it's like just, I love putting myself in uncomfortable situations like that. Whether it's heat, the sunburn, that's the only issue. I don't care how hot it is. It's just the sun, the sunburn kind of thing. Because I'm like bald on the top of my head, and I don't mind the hard breathing, the suffering, just the sunburn. That's the after effect of. And then cold, that really doesn't bother me. Rain, I don't give a shit. Actually, I'll like it because it's a good feeling. When you're sweating and the natural water of the earth is coming down on you. Just gotta be careful on the steps. You don't slip. But I just I love challenging the narrative of most people taking the path of least resistance, and you're gonna die one day, and you're gonna. I'm telling you, when you get older, when you don't take care of yourself, which is a combination of lack of movement and putting garbage in your body, and coupled with toxins, smoking, drinking, drugs, vaping, whatever, all that garbage. So it's just you're asking for problems. Um, you're asking for it because I know I was asking for it too. And guess what? At 45, it all hit me just from drinking beer. Alcoholic neuropathy, dude. Okay. So how do you change? You go for the natural high, which is kind of hard to explain. And it's not the same as whatever you're doing that's bad for you. It sucks and it's hard. But in order to take all that life throws at you and basically destroy anything that comes in your way, you have to go there to this place. And it's a place that most are not going to go. I did 55 steps a couple hours ago, and it's like going to hell for about 2 hours. About 2 hours. I said I was on the steps, hour and a half. It's like going to fucking hell, dude. But that's where the diamond is forged. It's not forged in comfort. It's not forged in easy. What you're eating is not helping you. Talked about it in my last episode. Talked about clean foods. Clean. The elimination of garbage that you put in your fucking body. Chai spice tea, by the way, Trader Joe's. It's like $3 for a box. I don't know, it's like 20 packets in there. It's not bad. So, the combination of eating clean, eating right, and doing the real grind and the real work makes you a fucking beast. You can mold a tub of lard into a sharp tool with this formula. Couple that with sacrifice and serious determination, you're talking a fucking beast. And that's exactly what David Goggins did. Now, he had a foundation in his mind. There was a spark, from his prior military, even his Air Force, but an extreme desire to change. Most people don't got that. They don't have it. Their minds are locked into a matrix, hustling to make money, do a job or whatever. And that is a pastime. Maybe they go to the gym, for a little bit, had a little half-ass shit. And they're getting a little something. But they're getting pennies, dude. They're getting nothing. Well, for what I consider. Like, for me, it would be a waste. The problem herein lies that when we hear the term bodybuilding, we think of like these huge behemoths and then Arnold and everything. It's just a skewed view. Well, either you're a runner, like these skinny, anemic looking guys that run marathons, or you're this giant behemoth as a bodybuilder. Why can't you just be a little of both, coupled with other things? Because see, most people, they're one trick. They've just. I see these people that are running. To me, they're not in shape physically. They don't look good. They can't get on a bodybuilding stage. And then I see these people that are these giant behemoths that, they're freaks. And that's extremely unhealthy. The amount of steroids and all that crap they're taking. That's the problem. People, they think, well, either you're like this incredible elite marathon runner or you're this giant behemoth, and that's all that matters, or one extreme or the other. You just can't be like both, but the right way. You don't have to run 26 miles in 2 hours. You can do it in six. You don't have to be a giant behemoth to compete in natural bodybuilding. I'm 140, okay? And I hold four fucking titles. Four. Uncontested. Unfucking contested. Because there's nobody doing it. The bar is so low. That's all I have to do is show up. And I'm taking first place every fucking time because there's no one else. So it's so funny. There are some older people I've seen in the bodybuilding and physique and classic in their 60s and stuff. And there's one guy that's absolutely phenomenal. Sammy Sisk, I think his name is. He's like 67. It's incredible. It's fucking incredible. He's the epitome. He's like, into me, he is the definitive example. Definitive example. Well, he's taking stuff. All right, besides the point. Besides the point. He's not, more than likely, he's something, okay. Still does not negate from the overall package being presented on stage. He's the best, well put together 67-year old that I've ever seen in my life. There's guys, that were taking a lot of stuff, Albert Beckles and stuff. I'm well aware of all these guys. We're well aware. It's taking a lot though. You want longevity, you want mobility. You want to be able to do shit as you get older. That's why I combine the cardio with the bodybuilding. You do a lot of cardio, there's a Miss Olympia competitor I know. She's a friend of mine actually. And she doesn't like to run, she just, yeah, it's muscle burning. And okay, I agree with her. I agree with her. But the value that you get from doing the cardio, you're getting compensation in other ways. I don't need to be big. Being cut on stage is a killer. It's a fucking killer. I told you, now I'm 140. My first show 3 years ago in Central California, I was like 160. I was nowhere near as cut as I am now, but I was still cut. I destroyed guys that were 6'3", 240. Destroyed. They move the guys to the center that are higher, that were better. The guy to my right was like a Lou Ferrigno. He was like a type. I cut him to shreds. He's too soft. He's big. He's fucking big, dude. But I tore him. He's closer to the you know I'm closer to the center than he was. So It's kind of brief episode, but I think I covered, the steps, the difficulty. It's easy to get comfortable in the gym, dude. Like you're doing the same kind of exercises, bicep, tries, back, you know, chest, some abs work, legs, whatever. Your body gets used to it after a while, and kind of getting maybe a little dopamine hit from that. But it's not. I think shit's not hard enough, to where you're really forging. Most people don't compete, let alone do natural shows like me. I'm the only person, I guarantee you, in my gym or in all of Los Angeles. You know, when I do these shows, how come I'm the only one? There was only one 40 to 49, only one 50 to 59. I'm just adding up the titles. I'm taking home the first place medals. You know, no one's showing up, so I'm just taking all the fucking hardware. There are some people. There's one other guy, in Oceanside. That was, it's kind of surprise. He was very sharp. He was very sharp. This other dude in his 50s in classic. A lot of these guys don't want to step up though. After they get their pro card, they want to stay amateur. They don't want to go up against other pros. But anyway, eating clean, and that is so important, not just for the aesthetics, but the energy level when you're doing the shit that's because you need a good amount of fuel, and the cleaner the energy, it'll burn clean when you're fucking running and carrying around a lot of weight. It's gonna slow you the fuck down. Yeah. Look at Bruce Lee when he did that cobra pose, when you see his lats flaring and everything. Quintessential example. Quintessential example of what's possible. Dude was not skinny, okay? So think about that. You want to be dangerous? Become a little of everything. It's a lot harder than you can imagine. And you know why it's so hard? Because you don't want to sacrifice. You want to hang around same people at your level, go have fun and look at things and whatever. Looking is not doing. It's not, man. And I'm reminded of that every weekend. If I'm doing the steps and I see the people partying in the park at the perimeter of the nightclubs and all that shit, I ain't missing fucking nothing, dude. They're all younger people wasting time putting toxins in their body. What's going to happen if you're a human on this earth, which most of you are? Time is going to add up. Time adds up. And just about every human gets out of shape, fat, whatever. Because you're sitting around and fucking eating little by little. Your gas tank is overflowing. It's a combination of neglect. You know, sitting on your ass in a restaurant. So you're sitting, not moving, eating garbage. There's a double whammy right there. Putting any toxins in your body, worse than a double whammy. not moving around enough. And you just add that fucking shit up. And you are asking for God for problems. You're a lot older than you think. I hate when people, you're still young, they give you to feed you the narrative. I talked about this in the last episode before. Take your birth year and pretend it's a fucking car. Now, I was born in 73. So I look at it like a 73 Corvette. It's a piece of shit at this point. A 73 Vet is a piece of garbage. Falling apart, man. It's old. But if you work on that piece of shit every fucking day and put in the cleanest fuel and take care of that fucking old piece of crap, it'll run. And it'll run quite well. Got a friend that's like going to be 65. I compared him to a 1960 Galaxy 500, I called him. But he doesn't take care of himself. It's a piece in, so it's falling apart. Taking medication and fucking, he's just, see, they go along with the narrative. They don't get it. I'm glad. I don't need people to listen to me. I don't need people to watch. Because guess what? I don't give a fuck if anybody does what I do or not. Like I said, I'm the one that's cashing in, not financially, but I'm the one fucking cashing in. I'm the one that can do the fucking these marathons. I'm the one that's fucking taking the bodybuilding titles. I don't need anybody's approval. I don't even need people to ask questions. If you want to send me a couple bucks, in the fucking thing, then I will entertain some of your questions. But otherwise, I don't give a fuck about you. You're not out there 3 in the morning running. You're not out there really, really grinding hard. How do you know? Because I know. I know what most of you kind of people are. There's literally a handful of real fucking warriors, people that are like really not accepting the narrative, the generic mold out there. I'm one of them. You ever ran 100 miles, 200 miles, 300 miles? You cannot talk to me. How many bodybuilding competitions you've done? Cannot talk to me. The proof is in the pudding. There's no substitute for hard work. Just think about when you're wasting your time the next day and wake up and go, did I extract any value? Did I get anything for going out last night? I saw a woman, you got nothing. I was running the steps last Friday or something like that. A group of like 6 chicks sat down on the side. They weren't in my way, and I know these two guys come up, hey, trying to introduce themselves, whatever. They got nothing. The women were looking at me, and I wasn't looking at them. People want what they can't have. Lambo dude asked me, did you look at? No. No. I'm there to focus on myself. I only got so much time, and it takes everything and everything to change. if you want it in a relative short period of time. It's like, I guess, look at it like this. I talk about the seed being planted, and water the seed. You know where the water is? It's the fucking sweat coming off your fucking body. That's watering the fucking soil, I call it. And it takes time. The work is done underground. The seed is working. And eventually it's going to fucking come up. It's going to crack through the fucking soil. It's going to get that sunlight. What's it called? Chloroform? Chlorophyll or whatever. It's going to fucking sprout. And it's going to fucking turn into a fucking oak tree. Beanstalk, whatever. But to get to that point, you got that seed has to be planted and it's got to be fucking watered. And then you got to be patient. Repeat. And it will fucking grow. I did 55 fucking steps. I remember when I could only do 20, 25, 50, 55. Did 100 last week. A fucking 100. That's it. You don't become nothing. The best version of yourself physically, educationally, and financially. You're nothing. Then you're either mediocre or worse. It just gets worse when you're not exceptional. It gets worse. Because you're nothing, dude. You're fucking nothing. Unless you're something, you're nothing. If you're okay with being mediocre, good. But just remember one thing. There's dudes like me out there. And if you don't care, it doesn't bother you that there's going to be people that are going to blast ahead of you in all these endeavors. It doesn't bother you, they're no good. But Arnold said, I'd rather be dead than average. He made a good point. Average nothing. It's fucking the norm. Simpleton, That ain't fucking nothing. You ain't no exception and you're worthless. You don't gotta be a celebrity. But you gotta be the best version of yourself. And you'd be surprised. You're not. You're not. If you really think about that, think about you get one life while you're here. And how much better you could be if you challenged your mind instead of fucking just wasting time. Think about that. Think.